All right, for this demo class, I do want to run by the snapshots again because we are talking about backups, and we're using VMs right for this class. A good idea is to go through backups. It's not your traditional backup method because oftentimes you're not running on a virtual machine. You might be running on a real Linux computer, right? But if you do want to take a snapshot, literally a picture of your VM, right, with all the files, where it was last running, literally freeze it in time and be able to share that VM with others in the future, you can use snapshots. All right, so how do we take snapshots? So just click on your VM and you're going to click on this little menu icon. Yours might be on the details menu. You're going to want to go to the snapshots menu. So once you're in the snapshots menu, you'll have a few options to choose from. So essentially, to take a snapshot, you're going to hit this take button at the top, and then you can name your snapshot. So I'm going to name this snapshot before adding users. I'm going to hit OK. And so this is going to take a snapshot before I run a certain set of commands. So I might run some commands to add some users. First, I'm going to do get ent, and I'm going to do password group. A little trick just to print out the users. So you can see here all the users. It's usually from VBox and lower. There's some other users here listed in the password group. Because some of the different systems, different dependencies, right, in the Linux system will generate passwords for them. But anyways, here we can see VBox user, we can see student, we have some test users here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some extra users. So let's do sudo add user, and let's go with new student. And then it's gonna ask me for a password because I'm running a sudo command. And it's gonna ask me a password for the new user. Just gonna hit enter. Let's do another one, new student, and let's say newer student. Yes, student. And then again, asking me for a password. Remember, even though you can't see the output of the password, that's just for security purposes. All right, so if I do another get ent password, I should see my new student and my newer student. Now, let's say the commands I ran didn't work, they messed up my system, etc., right? This is where snapshots can be really useful in your VMs. So let's go ahead and restore it to that previous state. So I'm going to click on this one. Usually you do need to stop your VM before you restore it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to hit power off. All right, so now that it's powered off, I can select one of my snapshots here and essentially roll back the VM to that snapshot. So I can hit restore. And funny enough, it's going to ask you, hey, before you go back to this older snapshot, do you want to create a snapshot of the current machine state? Definitely that's something you want to do if you don't want to, delete the one you're currently on. If you don't really care about the one you're currently on, you could just uncheck that and can hit restore. So now my current state is before adding users. So let's go ahead and start the VM and see if it works. So if I run that get ent password, I should not have a new student or a newer student. So let's do get ent password group, any user with a password, and notice my new student or newer student are not there. So it did roll it back right to that previous state. So extremely useful. We're going to cover one more thing before we jump into the demo. I know you've probably already experienced this. Maybe you try to copy paste things into your VM. Maybe you wish there was a way, right, to transfer files from your VM to your machine. There is a way to do this, and that's through guest additions. Some of you might have already figured it out. I imagine most of you haven't. It was slightly intentional, right, not sharing the details on how to do that because I wanted you to get comfortable, right, just using the VM. So navigating the internet on the VM, right? Navigating the command line. But now that we've got a few commands under our belt, it's definitely useful, right, to be able to transfer things from our host machine, from our real computer, to the virtual machine. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to have to create a new VM. So I'm going to close this one, and then we're going to create a new one. So I'm going to go to Tools and hit New, and then let's call it Guest VM. And then I'm going to select the same ISO I've been using, and then I'm going to hit Next. The only difference here is I'm going to check on guest editions. I'm going to make sure that's checked on. Guest editions is what allows you to do that copy paste, to have shared folders between your host machine and your guest machine, which will be really useful when we get to system backups in this demo. So I'm gonna hit next. Remember, if your VM makes your computer go, run too hot, go too crazy, make sure you lower the base memory. My computer has a ton of base memory. Even so, I'm keeping it pretty low for this example, right? I don't really need that much memory anyways. I don't need too much computing power. And then for processors, I'm just going to go with 3. I'm going to hit next. This is your actual storage, virtual hard disk. You can go much bigger with this one. I'm going to go 125. This is usually what I defaulted to. Just make sure I have enough space for anything I want to install. And then I hit finish. Strange, I got a strange error there. That's okay. Hopefully it starts up. If not, I'll just try again. Alrighty, let's see. So I think I'll pause the video so we don't have to watch it set up. Or I'll let it play just so you guys can see it. At least get to the installation phase. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and pause it. Alright, so it is installing, but we can still definitely go over where we're going to navigate to enable that shared clipboard so that you can copy paste from your host machine to your virtual machine back and forth, and also to have a shared folder. So you're going to go to your devices here in the menu. You're going to hit devices menu, and you're going to go to shared clipboard. Now it has a few options. The most useful is bi-directional. That means you'll be able to copy from your VM to the host machine and the other way around. Don't see a lot of utility for having it restricted to just one direction. So you want to go bi-directional. And then for shared folders, you're going to go to shared folder settings. You're going to hit this little plus sign to add a new shared folder. And then you're going to want to go to this folder path and hit other so that you actually choose where the shared folder will be between your real machine and the virtual machine. So they'll actually both have this folder exist. So usually I'll create one. So I'm going to do VM shared folder. You can already see I already have a VM folder here. But yeah, let's go with VM shared. That's a good name. I'm going to select the folder. Only thing you have to check is auto mount. Make sure you check that on. And then you'll hit OK. I'm going to wait till it finishes installing, just because I don't want to mess anything up in this process. But yeah, once you hit OK, you will have the right configurations. However, you still need to reboot your VM. Same in the case, right, as adding new users and groups. You kind of need to hit refresh on the machine in order to make those changes become active. All right, so it's almost finished copying those files. Once it's finished, I'm going to hit OK. We'll give it a second. Almost there. Maybe I'll pause it. Yeah, I think I'll pause it while this takes forever. And we'll start back up once it's finished. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and hit OK once you set that up. And I'm gonna go and put change me. I'm going a little crazy. Skip. What the heck? No. Next. Done. Yeah, this thing needs a reboot. So let's go ahead and do it from the terminal. Remember, you could also go machine reset or do a sudo reboot. Oh, before I do that, make sure to add yourself. If you're making a new VM, right, make sure you add yourself as a sudo. So I'm gonna do user mod ag sudo vbox user. Please forgive the static electricity going off on the screen, and then we'll do a sudo reboot. All right, that's probably not gonna work since I'm not. Oh, I forgot I am root user. All right, so that should solve the problem. Simple reboot. So yeah, I enabled guest additions on my VM setup. I went to shared clipboard, went to bidirectional, and then I went to shared folders, added a folder, and made sure to check on auto mount. Both read only and make permanent were kept off. So now I can go to my VBox user, and of course my VM is still going a little crazy. I'm gonna have to make a new one. All right, let's see. So let's verify that I can copy paste. So I'm going to go here and let's go to the internet. Let's go here. Let's copy this. Actually, this week's playlist. Video. So I'm just copying that link as a demonstration. And when I go to my VM, for example, I go to this like word editor and then I do paste. It does allow me to copy paste now. And there's also a shared folder. How do you find that shared folder? It's the last directory when you go to your files here. So if you go to the GUI files, you can navigate there. If you want to navigate from command line, I'll show you the path in 1 second. A cool trick is if you go to the directory you want from the GUI, you can open in terminal. And notice the path is /media and then the name that you gave after SF dash. So I gave it VM shared, so it's called SF dash VM shared. So if I did want to navigate there, just to show you, CD media, and then that name, right? You could just tab in, and then it'll take me there. So I can ls the files. There's nothing there. Let's go ahead and add a file. So let's see. I'm gonna go here to my file explorer, and I'm going to let's add a picture. Yeah, let's do a picture of myself. I'm gonna add that to that shared folder. So VM shared, and then we're gonna do paste. Now you might not see it because you might have to refresh this folder. SFVM, and there it is. So yeah, as you can see, the picture I put in my host computer in that shared folder, VM shared, is now available in my actual VM. So that's going to be extremely useful, right? If you did want to back up things to this folder and then, drag and drop them into another VM and so forth, which is exactly what we're going to do today. But now you also have the benefit, right? Because of guest additions, not just a shared folder, you can now copy paste between your real machine and your virtual one. All right, let's hit don't save. All right, let's go ahead and continue. So let's go to our command line and let's get started. So first, what I want to show you is the sudo apt install and the sudo apt update before we start installing extra things. So sudo apt update is commonly suggested when you're installing a package. It's just going to update your package manager, the packages themselves that are on your system. It's just a good idea to run before you start installing some stuff. Not required though. And let's go with the example of curl. So command curl not found. And notice curl is a very useful package. Because it is a commonly used package, it's actually going to auto suggest the command I need to run. Sudo apt install curl. So if I do sudo apt install curl, that's going to install the package for me. It's going to ask for confirmation. This is how much space it's going to need. So I'm going to hit yes. And now when I type in the curl command, once this finishes installing, you'll see that it does work. So curl, you can always run -- help with most commands, and it'll give you a little guide on the different flags. So you don't have to go right to another resource. You can always run your -- help. All right, so curl, and here you can see all the different flag options. Let's go ahead and actually use curl just to show you how this particular package is going to extend the functionality of your Linux system. So we didn't have curl before. Now we have curl. Let's see what curl can do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and navigate to the internet, and we're going to find a file for us to curl. So curl essentially does the same thing as downloading, but you can do it via the command line. It's useful when you have local files that you want to send to a URL, or if you want to download files from a URL. So let's do a Google image search. So images, Google. And let's curl this picture right here. Let's copy image link. And then I'm gonna do a curl. And the first thing you need is the destination for the curl. So that's the first thing we're gonna go ahead and show. So destination, let's go with our downloads folder. Oops. First, I need my -o command. So -o is for saving the output right of the curl command. So whatever comes from that URL, we're going to save it to our downloads folder. I did tab in there, and I got to give it a file name. So I'm going to say Google image. Not sure what the file type was on that image. Let's see. Save image as, just to keep the same file type. So let me make sure I get an actual image. This one's also WebP. What the heck? Where's there a JPEG image I can use? There it is. PNG, perfect. Okay. So that's a PNG. I'm gonna copy the link. I'm gonna copy this one. I'm gonna do google.png, and then I'm gonna put the source of this curl command. So what am I actually downloading? You can paste using Shift Insert on your keyboard. And let's see if that worked. So it should download this to my downloads folder. So if I go to my files here, downloads, I can see google.png. Yep, right there. Remember, you could do this through command line, cd. You do your tilde, downloads, ls. There it is. You could also just do it in the ls command, right? You don't actually have to change directories, just force of habit. But yeah, there's my Google PNG. And there you go. So yeah, that's a curl command. So we're extending the functionality of our system. Some other useful ones that we mentioned in class was Git. Notice it's not there. Git, very useful if you're working on development, software development. Nano's one that's already there, right? Nano's already here. On other systems, you might have to install it. So really, packages, right? It's all about what you need, what you're looking for. And then you can just go ahead and download it and use that package. Just like you would download Photoshop, right? For images, you might download a package, right? To execute a very specific task. So this week we did talk about backups, right? So I want to go ahead and go over a cool backup package that you can download. So we're going to do sudo apt install timeshift. And so that's going to do the whole installation for me. Even though it's command line, it still gives me, right, some progress bars and stuff. So pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and open up Timeshift. So Timeshift is now an application here in my applications. So if I go to Timeshift here, it's going to ask for a sudo permissions. We're going to keep rsync. That's usually the one you want to use for our Ubuntu system. Not sure what that other option is for. Not an expert on this package. But what this package does is it allows you to save the files that are currently here. And then if you want to grab those files at a later date, restore back to those files, kind of like we do with snapshots. This is just for files though, not for the actual entire image, right? Not the entire machine. But it is going to copy all the essential folders and files. So you just hit next. You can have it do it on a periodic basis, so it's really cool. If you want to do this, every day, every week, up to you. I'm going to disable scheduled snapshots. I don't want this to be running on its own. You can choose which files to include or exclude. Here, let's put include all files, include all files. So we're going to hit next, and then we're going to hit finish, and then all you have to do is hit create. And there you go. It's going to take a snapshot of all your files, everything in your Linux system. The only downside is that it is saving it to your Linux system, right? So if for some reason this Linux system, right, blew up, stopped working, then you would technically lose access, right, to these files. You could certainly do some tricks where you move these files outside, though it can be tricky, right, if you're downloading every single system file to drop it into another machine and expect everything to work. But yeah, it's really useful if you're working with a machine that maybe you're not really worried about it crashing, right? Crashing is really more of a VM issue than an actual Linux issue. But yeah, maybe you want to restore to older file systems. Maybe you want to keep track, keep a version history, right, of your different file systems. You can definitely do that with Timeshift. Now, it does take a while to do, but this is definitely one option, right? And notice this didn't come prepackaged with Ubuntu. This was something we had to install. It came with a GUI. You could definitely execute all of this through command line as well. In fact, I'm going to show you how to do that while this kind of loads. All right, so the exact same thing we ran through the GUI, you can do through command line. You can do a sudo timeshift create. You can list the different snapshots you've taken, and then you can actually choose one of those snapshots to restore. You can delete snapshots all through the command line. You just have to get familiar, right, with the flags and the actual commands. But yeah, everything we just did, you can do through command line. So I'll be adding that to this week's modules. Again, not a Timeshift expert. I just wanted to show you an example of not just backing up your system, right, but also using a package to do that whole process for you a little bit more easily. Now, we have some other options when it comes to backing up our system. Not just Timeshift. Let's see if it finished, though. I believe it did. There it is. So yeah, let's say I made some changes to my file systems, right? But I decided, oh no, I want to go back to this one, right? You can always hit restore. And it'll essentially restore your machine to that old state. Now remember, this is just for files, not for the actual VM itself. That's only possible through snapshots. I'm sure maybe there's some tricks, maybe some package out there where you can take a snapshot of your VM through the command line. But for the most part, much easier to do through the VirtualBox interface. So yeah, you can do next, and then it'll restore the file system here. And yeah, there you go, Timeshift. So that's one option. But again, it's limited because it's saving all those files to your current system. Maybe you want to move those files right out of the system, right? This is where rsync becomes really useful. So let's do an ls. So we got our Google PNG, right? Let's say I want to save my home directories. Let's go to our home directory. Let's ls our home directory. And I have all these files here. And I want to, now that I have a shared folder, right? Maybe I want to move these files outside of my VM. and then drop them into a new one. You can certainly do that by doing the rsync command. So rsync, if you remember, is for incremental backups. If there's not already a backup there, then it's just going to start from scratch and do a full backup. Let's go ahead and do an rsync of our home directory. Remember, let me ls our home directory. And those are all the folders and files. I believe in downloads. CD downloads is the only place we have a file. Oops. Yeah, that's the only one we have a file in. Maybe I might add another file just for reference. We'll do a touch. And then we'll put it in the documents. We'll put important memos.txt. And then I can verify documents folder. And then, yeah, important memos.txt. Okay, so looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our rsync command. All right, we're going to use our rsync command to copy our entire home directory, the whole thing, into our shared folder. So we're going to do rsync, and then we have to put the source folder and then the destination folder. Now I'm going to be using a few flags. I'm using A, V, and Z. So what do those do? A is archive mode. So it's going to preserve all the file permissions, timestamps, links, directory structure. It's just to keep a little bit more of the metadata. Verbose, V for verbose is just so that it gives me output while it's doing it. It's going to give me some progress. And then Z is going to compress the data during the transfer. So when you're copying a lot of data, it's pretty much a way to speed things up. So Z is always a good idea. So we're going to put the root folder, which is my home directory. I can just use the tilde for that. And then I'm going to do media. Remember the name of the folder, SF. You can always tab into it, right? VM shared. All right, so that should be it. I put some flags. I think I need one more dash there. I think it's just one dash. Put two just in case, I forget. Looking good. So I hit enter. Nope. It's just one dash. All right, so it's going to copy every single little thing from my home directory. Oh, and you know what? I should have put it in a folder here. So I'm gonna create a new folder first. Just for your reference, so you can see me create it. So it already started downloading things, unfortunately. Let me delete those first. Remove. How do we trash? There we go. Okay. So let's create a new folder here. You can do that right through command line. Let's just call it home backup. There it is. So we'll do home backup. There you go. That way it doesn't go to that root shared folder, right? We'll put it inside another folder. Just keep everything separate and organized. All right, so I'm gonna rerun that command. Because I put the V in the flag, it's showing me like every little step. So it's a lot of files. Some of those, if you see, it's coming from that snap folder. So a lot of those pre-setup files. So a lot of Firefox files here. Yeah, it's gonna take a minute. So rsync's really useful if you have a ton of files to work with, a ton of files to back up, a ton of files to move, and you can actually decide right where to save them. If you throw in SSH, which we'll maybe cover once we get to the scripts, I'm still deciding if that'll be useful or too much for us to learn. But you can actually connect two VMs together through SSH, and you can use rsync to transfer things over. That's one way to do it. But yeah, we're kind of leaning on that shared VM folder for now. So yeah, now if I go to my folder here, home backup, you can see everything's there. If I go to my documents, important memos is there. If I go to my downloads, Google PNG is there. And then Snap had all those crazy smaller files. All right, so if I have another VM, I'm gonna go ahead and start another VM. Let's hit start. Totally different VM. I can now access these backed up files not only from my home computer, let me show you there as well, just to confirm that it is a VM shared folder. We're gonna go to VM shared. Documents, VM shared. There it is. I copied a few of those things. Let me delete them. We didn't see them before because those have the dot in front. Those are hidden folders or hidden files. But yeah, if we go to home backup and I go to downloads, there you go, Google PNG. It did indeed back up my files. But more interestingly enough, right, if you set up a shared folder on multiple VMs, clear. So this is a different VM. This is my guest editions VM and this is my guest VM. Similar names, but different VMs. This does have the shared folder set up. Oh, it's a different shared folder. So let me go devices, shared folders. Let me delete this one. Folder path. Just a little review, right, on how to set up that folder. You choose an existing folder in your real computer. You hit OK. Did I auto mount? Yeah. And then OK. SFVM shared, home backup. I go to my downloads and there's Google PNG. And yeah, I could move all of these folders, all of these files, right, into my my other VM. I could put it to my real computer. I could email it. I could upload it to a Google Drive, right, whatever I want. But essentially, I've backed up all these files with just one command. Pretty cool. So that's the rsync command. Another command you can potentially use is the tar command. Now, tar is not really meant for backing up, entire file systems. It's typically used more for smaller directories. So when you're trying to archive maybe a couple folders, not your whole system. But technically, you could use it to back up a whole system. Let's go ahead and do an example of a tar. So we're going to create, let's see, we're going to create a tar archive. So we're going to run a few commands on how to do that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create a tar instead of an rsync. So tar is essentially you're compressing all the files into a single file. And that's what tar does. So if you're familiar with zip folders, tar is essentially the same thing. You're compressing everything into like smushing into one file. So we're going to do that with our home directory. Again, tar is typically used for, not massive. We're not talking about gigabytes. We're talking about megabytes with tar. But, like I said, technically you could use it for a very, very large file system. In this case, we're going to use it for our home directory again. So let's go ahead and run tar. I'm going to do CVF. So a couple flags there. So C is to create a new archive. V again is verbose, just to give me some extra output while it runs. And then we have F to specify the file name for the archive. So I'm going to give it a file name. I'm going to call it home backup. And then we're going to do .tar. And then we're going to do our home directory. Yeah. So this is my source, the home directory, and then this is my destination, home backup tar. So I'm gonna hit enter. And if I do an ls, you can see my home backup tar is there. So that home backup tar squished my entire home directory into a tar file. So it's a way of archiving a lot of things into a single file. So how can I verify that everything got saved to the tar? Or I could do a tar tvf. So remember, V is for verbose, T is going to be for listing the contents of the archive, of the tar archive, of the tar file, and then F is to specify the actual file name. So we're going to do home backup. I'm going to just tab into it, and then there you go. It shows me all the files that it saved. So it's a lot because of those little snap folders, right? All right, so let's go ahead and continue. We're going to move this into our media VM. So we're going to do move home backup tar. And then we have to choose the destination we're going to save it. So it's media, SF, VM shared. So now if I double check, I should have my home backup tar there. So you can see, again, I shouldn't be doing it through the GUI, right? You could do it through command line, but I know some for a lot of us, right? It's a little bit more comfortable to see it in the graphical user interface. Of course, I could just do an ls/media/sfvm, and you can see home backup tar is there as well. So two different ways of doing it: GUI, command line. All right, so now let's go ahead and untar that folder. So let's go ahead and actually crack it open. That's going to be another tar command that we're going to run. All right, so let's go ahead and untar this. So I'm actually going to do it from my other VM just to get the point across of the shared folder trick. So I'm going to navigate to my shared folder, sfvm shared. Do an ls. I can see ls-ld, just see some details. Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna untar this. So we're gonna do another tar command. Let me make sure I have tar installed. Yep. Okay, so tar, and then I'm gonna do xvf. So x is to extract it, to crack open that tar. V again is for verbose. Sorry, for verbose. Tongue twisted there. And then F is for the file name. So I'm going to do the home backup tar. Now this will crack it open in the current directory. So I'm going to go ahead and first create a new folder. So I'm going to do make directory. I'm going to do backup. Tar cracked open. So I'm going to do cd backup. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the tar command. So tar xvf, x for extracting, v for verbose, v for the file name. And then I have to go upper directory, right? Because my home backup tar is up there. And then I hit enter. And just to show you the shared folder, right? Truly is shared. I'm going to go to my other VM. Let's see, where are you, other VM? I think we're here. Yeah, we are here. So I'm gonna do ls. Oh, I gotta do, let me just navigate to my shared folder. And then let's do an ls backup cracked open. And then it does have a home folder. Let's crack that one open. VBox user, okay. Let's crack that one open. And yeah, there's all my files. We could just go here to sfvm. We could refresh it. We could go backup tar, cracked open, VBox user. We go to documents. Where is my downloads? Oh, okay, this one's empty because I did it from the other one, which was empty. So that's why these are empty. But yeah, if I had saved files to my other VM, then this would have actually shown some stuff. But yeah, it is indeed from, I'm sharing files across VMs. I was able to archive everything right into a single tar. Of course, not a lot of interesting things, right? Because I forgot to save stuff in here in the other VM. But yeah, yeah, I don't even think I put any pictures on the other VM. There's definitely gonna be stuff in the snap, right? So that's something at least that we copied, right? Besides just these directories. But yeah, tar, rsync, timeshift, all different ways to back up, all for different situations. I'll be linking some articles you can read just for some more detail on those commands. We did do a sudo apt install of curl. We did one of git. We did one of timeshift. For this week's lab, I want you to do your own installation of a package, run a few commands, and then write a little response, right, on what that particular package does. So just a little bit exploration. I'll kind of open it up maybe as a discussion too, so that we can all learn from each other and what these cool packages do. So that's it for this week's demo. And I'll see y'all till next time.